Welcome back to Big Mouth. So the Donner cut versus the Snyder cut. So the Donner cut is the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2, and the Snyder cut is Zack Snyder's version of Justice League. So a lot of people are trying to compare the situations. A lot of people will keep on writing on Twitter and telling me, look Mick, you're not going to see the Snyder cut for 20 or 30 years. Well, if that's the case, I'm going to be dead. And I need to see the Snyder cut. I have to see the Snyder cut. So I'm not having any of this. So let's talk about this. The Donner cut of Superman 2. Superman and Superman 2 were filmed back to back. Richard Donner was then sacked, and then they reshot the movie with Richard Lester. So let's go to the Snyder cut. Zack Snyder completed principal photography of his Justice League. Even if there isn't a Snyder cut, which we all know and believe there is, he can go into Warner Brothers, he can go into the lot, he can get all his footage and put it together, do, post-production, CG, Junkie can come in and do the music. There isn't an issue. So they are two very different situations. Richard Donner was sacked by the Salkinds, not by Warner Brothers. And guess who made his Guess who he worked with to do his Lethal Weapon series? Warner Brothers. But basically, Zack Snyder is at Warner Brothers. He's still working with them. He's still producing the DCEU films, mostly. And I think the new head of the DCEU, Walter Hamada, is a fan of Zack Snyder's. That's important. So there's a lot of confidence right now about the Snyder Cut. We are confident we're going to get an announcement during San Diego Comic-Con. Why are we so confident? I just sniffed something in the air. I think Warner Brothers understand that what the Whedon cut of Justice League did was alienate so many people. So they want to bring back people. They want to bring back that feel-good factor. And it would really help with Aquaman as well. No question about that. Let's get everyone back on the DCEU train. How do we do that? Give the people what they want. The Snyder Cut. In my imagination, the Snyder Cut is a 3-hour epic. It's a great it concludes that trilogy of Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Justice League. And then it's the next chapter. Now, originally, Justice League was meant to have 2 parts. Now, this is what we don't know. Is the Snyder Cut part 1 of a 2-part story? Or is it like Whedon's cut, which is just one film? If we do see the Snyder Cut, especially in cinemas, it could be part 1. And if that's the case, we have something really exciting to look forward to. You think about it, right? If the Snyder Cut is actually going to be part of the DCEU and not just some random cut, they're just going to throw us and, on a Blu-ray or a 4K or whatever kind of format you're going to get it in, is very interesting. I think there's a big possibility that the Snyder Cut is part of the DCEU future plan. I think the way Zack's conducted himself since walking away from Justice League is very interesting. Not once has he slaughtered Warner Brothers. Not once has he slaughtered Jeff Johns. Because everybody else has, apart from Zack. He's kept his own counsel. He's been very quiet. He's been on Vero posting pictures and teasing. I think there's no way he would have been allowed to tease those pictures without Warner Brothers' permission. They own them. There's been a lot of kind of discussion about him taking Warner Brothers to a civil case and so he can, release his cut. I don't believe that for a minute. I don't believe it was ever going to come to that. Maybe there were discussions at first when he was first removed, allegedly, but I think they're on good terms. Look, Warner Brothers love Zack Snyder. They backed him after Man of Steel. They allowed him to do Batman v Superman. Yes, they cut Batman v Superman very badly, just like they cut Suicide Squad. They were making mistakes back then. But the whole company has changed shape from the very top of Warner Brothers to at the DCEU. Bringing in Walter Hamada and that whole New Line Cinema team was very vital. That's changed everything. That's changed the mentality. There's a very comic book mentality. They understand that Man of Steel and Batman v Superman are good films, and there's a place for them, but there's also a place for the light films and the dark films. So that too is very interesting going forward, because we can have the best of both worlds. We don't have to say, oh, superhero comic book adaptations have to be light. They can't be dark. Well, The Dark Knight was bloody dark, and that worked out, didn't it? So what's the problem here? We can have the best of both worlds. If we get a Snyder Cut announcement, I am going to strip off naked on YouTube. All right, it'll get dismissed. I will strip off in my boxers. You'll see my horrible moves, my horrible flabby tummy, and I'm going to dance while I listen to the Man of Steel thing. How about that? If it happens, I think I should do that. So if you dare me to do that, I will do that, because this is so important. Because up till Justice League, Whedon's cut of Justice League, things were kind of going okay. Yes, the mainstream hated it. There was a lot of, oh, we hate Batman v Superman, we hate Man of Steel. But not everyone. There were millions around the world who didn't hate Batman v Superman, Man of Steel and Suicide Squad. It was making good money and it was doing okay. I believe if they allowed Zack Snyder to release his cut instead of Whedon's cut, that film would have made about $850. Not the billion and not the competitiveness we would have needed to compete or beat the original Avengers film. But it's not all about Marvel. We've got to forget about Marvel. Let them do the thing. Let us do our thing. I will say, like I've said in previous videos, that Warner Brothers had an impossible decision to make. You had critics saying this. You had fans saying that. There were so many different dissenting voices, if you like. And in the end, they got scared and they tried to make a film in the tone of an MCU film, and it failed because it wasn't earned. They'd already had a different tone in the other films. They should have stuck with Zack. And I think the president of Warner Brothers has admitted that. I think Walter Hamada quietly is admitting that. There's no question of Zack Snyder going to work for another studio. He's very much a Warner Brothers man. Quite right too, because Zack Snyder is a very talented filmmaker. And I mean, if you don't like his films, you don't have to be nasty towards him. Guess what? All you have to do is not watch his films. Not that difficult, is it? We are in exciting times now. I believe what happened with Justice League and the failure of it was the best thing that could have happened. That now means that Warner Brothers have been forced to get their shite together. And this is brilliant for us. This is brilliant for the people making the films. It's just really, really exciting. So do I think there's a Snyder Cut? Yes. Do I think we're getting an announcement about a Snyder Cut at San Diego Comic-Con? Who knows? Who knows? I want it so badly. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. I would advise everyone who wants it to keep on doing the hashtags on Twitter. They've been absolutely fantastic, you know, talking about the individual movies that Snyder's done and then hashtagging release the Snyder Cut. That's been brilliant. So that's what we can do. But Warner Brothers know there's money to be made from the Snyder Cut. There is no question about that. So why wouldn't it happen? Of course, the question I asked before, is the Snyder Cut going to be part of the DCEU going forward? They've already got rid of Joss Whedon. And that kind of already answers your question, doesn't it? If the Snyder Cut is the first part of a two-part Justice League movie series, that's going to be amazing. And that's what we deserve. This is what we should have had, a two-part epic Justice League movie directed by Zack Snyder. But Warner Brothers got cold feet, and that's what went wrong. But everyone makes mistakes. It's happened now. We need to move on. And if we can get the Snyder Cut, and if the Snyder Cut can be part of the DCEU, then we've got something really, really special to look forward to. And the mentality will change. So DCEU fans, don't give up hope. I believe in the Snyder Cut. I believe we're going to see it very soon. So keep the faith.